Well, it appears that the attack on meat continues, even overseas, by our Ag Secretary in Dubai. Why is the Secretary of Agriculture, what is he doing in Dubai? Well, he's speaking on climate change, don't you know? Because we want to save the planet. These guys are so full of crap. So he was caught on video. He was upset that he was caught on video. And it's like, it's a hard video to watch. It's like 4 minutes long. And it's like, because whenever a politician speaks, there's just garbage coming out of their mouth. And the reason I think that is because most politicians are lawyers. He's probably a lawyer too. I haven't looked, but I'd be willing to bet. I think over 60% of elected politicians are lawyers these days. The last time I looked at the number, I don't know what it is. Anyway, too many of them are lawyers. And so they're lying every time they're talking because they've gone to school. It's called law school, that they go there to perfect this method of speaking every time they open their mouth. And so he's interacting in Dubai with another American who is obviously a cattle rancher. She says so. I guess she went to Dubai in order to confront Tom Vilsack, or whatever his name is, the Secretary of Agriculture, on these new ag methods that we need to enact in order to make cattle more sustainable. Let's read the article. It says, big changes needed to make cattle sustainable, says Biden Ag Secretary Vilsack. It says, Dubai, American cattle ranchers need to implement government-backed ideas such as new feed sources and additives in their operations to become sustainable and rein in methane emissions, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture explained to a correspondent and cattle rancher, Debbie Bakigulapi and Alex Newman of the New American magazine at the UN COP23 climate conference. Secretary Vilsack, who has also served as the federal agriculture and previous administrations, boasted of partnerships as the Biden administration was forming with producers. And he bragged that taxpayers will be paying ranchers to embrace climate-smart schemes being pushed by the federal government. Better manure management will also be needed, Vilsack said, after his handlers tried to interfere in the interview several times. So it was an uncomfortable interview, and you can watch it over at the libertysentinel.org. It's hard to watch these politicians try to dance and spew all that garbage out of their mouth that comes out. You know he's lying when he's speaking because of the terminology he's using. You can tell he's very uncomfortable with the questions being asked by this actual cattle rancher who's asking the questions. These people are just sick. They're sick, twisted individuals. And, it's like, look at the picture. Let's just first look at the picture here. I think, wasn't he at one point the governor of Minnesota? I'm not sure on that. But look at this guy over here with this big crap-eating grin that he's got on his face. And he's sitting next to a tractor that's never seen a day of work in his life. You can tell because the sticker's still on it right there.
Do I look stupid to you?
There's no dirt on this tractor at all, but he's sitting in front of a tractor because we love farmers. And we need your votes, but not really anymore because everything is, decided beforehand. Anyway, all of that to say, all of these people, all these bureaucrats and politicians are full of crap. They have no interest in helping you whatsoever. They want to make cattle more sustainable by taking away your desire to, or your ability to eat cattle, number one. We want to feed you crickets. And we need better manure management. And the best way we attempt better manure management is to have less manure because we'll have less cattle because you'll be eating crickets. It's ridiculous. We all know what you want. You want to be able to take away our freedoms. We get it. We understand that. Thank goodness we all have these pew-pew machines that will completely prevent you from doing that in total. Okay. If we have the ability, the intestinal fortitude to do what's right, to keep you all you politicians and lying bureaucrats at bay. And then on top of that, we have the Liberty Daily, greatest website, one of the greatest websites of all time. You can check it out at thelibertydaily.com. It says the cost of grain that feeds the world has now hit an all-new 15-year high. and this is a reposted article that was originally posted over at Zero Hedge. On Wednesday, the Thai Rice Exporters Association revealed that the price of Thai white rice, 5% broken, a key Asian benchmark, reached a new 15-year high. This surge is mainly attributed to increasing fears of a global shortage due to the damaging effects of El Nino weather phenomenon on Asian farmlands and India's recent decision to restrict certain rice exports. They're restricting rice because there's a lot of places that are struggling with growing it right now, and even with drought conditions in India. And so they're keeping as much as they can for themselves because they don't want to have a shortage. Thai white rice, 5% broken, hit $659 a ton, the highest level since October 2008. I wonder what was going on around that time frame. Prices of the staple food that feeds billions of people worldwide are up over 50% since the start of 2022. This is why I tell you as homesteaders to be producers. Be producers. There's nothing bad that's going to ever come from being a producer. There's something very bad when you're completely a consumer, because what happens if you can no longer, you don't produce anything and what you consume is no longer there, and then what do? You just go without. And nobody likes to go without. So and food is kind of important, to not go without. So be a producer. Have a place where you can grow chickens. Have a place where you can grow some livestock. Have a place where you can grow some veggies. And that takes time to do all that and get really good at it. But there's no time like now to start. Be a producer. Now, something came up the other day that I wanted to mention on this channel, because I mentioned it, I think, on a comment. I mentioned it on the live stream with our patrons that we have Wednesdays. So if you want to tune in on Wednesdays, check us out on Wednesday nights over at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. And there's a live stream that takes place over there that our patrons and patrons alone have access to. And sometimes I'll allow that to come out and bring it on the live channel. This week I didn't. But there was an interaction that took place in a comment section on another video where I mentioned, building fences, and a few people, not a lot, but a few people commented in there that you should not have fences because that just lets bad people know that you have things that they may want to take. And I think that's the wrong way of looking at it. Of course you have things that they're going to want to take. You being a prepper and you being sustainable, because if you're sustainable, you're producing things on your homestead. Yeah, bad people are going to want to take those things. So you acting like the gray man, unless you have nothing, unless you don't have sustainability, yeah, you can be the gray man. You can look like you don't have anything. But the reality is it's kind of hard to hide a cow or a couple of cows. It's kind of hard to hide a bunch of chickens. It's kind of hard to hide, some sheep or some goats or even pigs or whatever you're growing. It's kind of hard to hide those things. It's kind of hard to hide a garden if you're going to have enough tomato plants, enough pepper plants, enough cucumber plants, enough all of these squash plants to feed you and your family going through the year. It's kind of hard to hide that thing. So, yeah, fences work great. I told the story in the patron podcast that we had this last week on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. I remember the movie Big Jake. And Big Jake was it was one of my favorite movies growing up. Big Jake, John Wayne, right? So John Wayne, they're tasked with taking this box of money, $1 million, to these kidnappers who John Wayne ultimately kills anyway. And so they're going to take this money and they're going to go through this town, and they ride into this town with all of their shotguns up on their hips. And one of the sons of Big Jake says, "Hey, isn't this a little bit showy, Pa?" And he says, "Yep, they all know what's in that box and they all want it. What we're doing by this ostentatious display is telling them they can't have it. We may be saving one of these poor schmucks' life by doing this." I think that's how it goes. Something like that. It makes sense. See, we have this fence. This fence is for your protection, not ours. Because if you cross this fence, there's going to be bad things that happen. Bad things. So do you understand? You have to put fences up. And I also mentioned, too, a recent consult that I did for a family in Texas that planting something like stinging nettle all along the barriers of your property. See, stinging nettle can grow up to 4 or 5 feet tall. And when you have stinging nettle that's 4 or 5 feet tall, depending on, sometimes it doesn't grow that much. It depends on humidity. I think what I read about stinging nettle, it depends on humidity. But it can get pretty tall. But when you first encounter stinging nettle, you will know it right away. It lets you know right away you messed up. And the toxins that are in the stinging nettle will stay with you for 2 or 3 days. I mean, it's like a pain that just, it's like anger, it itches, and it's like it lets you know that you really messed up, and it lets you know for a while. You can place that. It grows really well in Texas, in the Midwest, in a lot of places. Grow it. Put it all around your barriers. You must let everyone know that if you come here, you're stupid, and stupid will hurt. Stupid will hurt. Fences and walls are great. Now, will fences and walls stop a determined enemy? No. I mentioned also in that Patreon podcast that we did on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. on patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead, that Patton once said, General Patton, I love quoting General Patton, he said, fixed fortifications are monuments to the stupidity of man. Fixed fortifications are monuments to the stupidity of man. Because all fixed fortifications can at some point be overcome. But what you're doing is you're slowing them down. You're slowing them down enough to put rounds on target if you need to do that, or to get in a better position to better defend your property. You're slowing them down. That's all you're doing. No safe in the world will stop a determined robber or thief. It just slows them down long enough for you to be able to get there and put rounds on target. So that being said, fortify your homestead. Fences work great. If you're going to have cattle, because in the days that are coming right now, they do not like the fact that you can raise meat. They want to take that away. You're destroying the planet. And reality is they just want more control over you. And the way we get control over you is to get control of food. It's a time-tested, long time-tested method of control. You'll find it in all of the history books if you look hard enough, the right history books. The way you control people is their food. The way you control people is their water. The way you control people is their way of and their right of self-defense. Take that away, and they're much easier to be controlled. Most of Europe has been overrun now by these idiots and by these insane, crazy bureaucrats. And I can tell you that and I know that because you're watching these German farmers recently, and they took their tractors and they started throwing all this manure on their government buildings. That does nothing. That does nothing. Because the only thing that works is putting rounds on target. You're using the wrong tool to get the job done. Your tractor, I'm sorry, your animal dung doesn't work. There's another tool that does work, and they've already taken those away from you. And so now you're left with tractors and, cow poop. And that doesn't work. I'm sorry. But that's the reality is in America, we have the ability to do those things. We still have that ability for the time being, but they want to take that away too. They want to take away your ability to produce food. Chickens, we don't want those chickens. We'll outlaw those. We've done lots of videos on that where they're outlawing chickens. We don't want your ability to grow beef. We don't want your ability to grow lamb or any sort of meat whatsoever. We want the ability to control you. Be a producer. That's the message. Be a producer. Think about it. Okay. All right. Hey, check out our merchandise, teespring.com. You can find our best-selling shirt, Stupid Should Hurt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less politicians trying to take away our beef. Let me do a little bit of a rant here before we end the video. I get emails every so often from my videos who say, Zach, you know what? I really don't like this Stupid Should Hurt shirt. It's really unchristian. It doesn't say a lot about you. I think you should consider not promoting that anymore. No. Stupid Should Hurt is absolutely 100% biblical. It's Bible-based. You don't believe me? Have you ever heard the verse? It's often quoted sometimes in certain circles. The beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. Or sometimes they'll say the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The reason that is because when you fear the Lord, really what you're fearing is the consequences of your actions. Because when you fear the consequences of your actions, because unwise actions brings consequences that hurt. And when you fear the consequences of your actions, you tend to act more wisely. Stupid should hurt. Absolutely biblical concept. Get the shirt. You can find it linked below, teespring.com, and then explain it to all your Christian friends who are offended by the shirt you're wearing. Oh, that's just the wrong thing to say. No, stupid should hurt, and we need a lot more pastors out there telling people stupid should hurt, because now we have an entire world full of stupid, and it doesn't hurt. All right, guys. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. Hit the like button for crying out loud. That lets YouTube know that people actually watch and enjoy my channel. I appreciate it. Also, patreon.com will give you a quick shout out. We got these PDFs we're still giving away. You can find those. One is like $800 on Amazon. The other one's like $900 on Amazon. But you can get them from my Patreon page for as little as $1 a month. We appreciate it if you join at higher levels. Really do appreciate that. But you can $1 a month get you in the door, and send me a message on there and I'll give you these PDFs. They're valuable because of the information contained within. These were written back in the 1800s by this guy, okay? Out of print, out of copyright. And they're valuable because of the information contained within, long before Big Pharma got a hold of everything and had their way with it. So, good stuff. You can find links for our Patreon page in the description below. See you next time at the Homestead. Bye! Alexander the Great. Did you know when he died, his body was placed in a coffin made of solid gold? Decades later, Ptolemy X and Cleopatra III stole the coffin and gold artifacts just so they could pay their war debts. Germany, at the time of World War II, stole all of the gold they could get their hands on, and much of it still today has not yet been accounted for. You see, all throughout history, when times get tough, people, either good or bad, seek real wealth. They turn to gold and silver. The central banks and Wall Street cheerleaders would have you believe that gold and silver are just shiny rocks with no real value. But did you know that central banks around the world have for the last year been buying record amounts of gold and silver for stockpiling? Stockpiling for what? What do they know that they're not telling us? Genesis Gold Group is a proud supporter of an American homestead. They help people get out of locked-in 401ks and IRAs into something that's real, physical gold and silver. If you're going to be locked into something, it might be a good idea to talk to Genesis Gold Group about being locked into something physically vaulted instead of just a piece of paper that at the end of the day is just that, a piece of paper. It's a clear surety that our economy is headed for turbulent waters. The nation is currently over $31 trillion in debt, and Congress keeps spending money and the Fed keeps printing it. That does not bode well for anyone keeping and saving money in savings accounts or paper-denominated assets. Call Genesis Gold Group today, this instant, or visit them online at genesisgoldgroup.com. They can put together a strategy that's right for you. And be sure to say that you heard about them from an American homestead.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.